Hey friends, Joy Anderson again here. So my thought today is if you constantly feel like you are starting and stopping and starting and stopping over and over again, like you're in this horrible process of just can't get out of that loop, right? For whatever reason it is. So the concept then is, and I think the title of this video is going to be Stop Stopping. Because that truly is like the thing that is the problem, right? Is that we are like putting a complete pause, a complete stop to our progress instead of slowing down our progress, instead of, taking time for our progress. But we're basically just like, I screwed up and, messed up my consistency or just didn't do what I said I was going to do. And mentally, you just put this block that's like, I guess, I don't know, like you just say, I guess this didn't work, right? So that's what we want to talk about. And most especially, the thing that I want to get across is the mental shift from hustle to grind to sustainability. And in a business, like this is going to be now a business analogy, a business story, because I think that's what you're going to relate to most with this, because to me, that's what these three words imply also, is how do we go from a new idea to how difficult it is to learn it, to launch it, to make it anything, to finally making something sustainable in our life. So let's go with that. Story time. When I was starting preschool system, I had this feeling that I was driven. I was a high achiever. I had accomplished big things in the past, right? And I had this feeling inside of me that I could accomplish big things in the future. And I also had this desire to get out my message, right? To you, to all the women in the world about how they can stay home with their kids and make more money, right? Through starting a preschool. And that desire sparked, like it's the thought, right? It's the desire. It sparked the idea that I want this to go farther than just me. And I think you feel that too with starting your preschool. It's like the blessings that can come from you having your own preschool are so wide, right? Not only is it going to help you feel happier. I remember I was the happiest I had ever been when I had my preschool. When I was teaching, I was the director, the owner. Like that was in the highlights of my life of happiness, that was one of them for sure. Because I was doing something, I was making progress. I was like setting goals and achieving them. And not to mention though, spending time with the kids, period, bar none. Being a teacher is just like, it just lights you up. Anywho, so, but then of course it extends to your family. You get to spend more time with your kids, your spouse, just all these things. And of course all the children and their families, and like it goes on, right? And so the concept is like, but how, with that desire that we have, how can we make it sustainable? I think a lot of you have come in with this desire, this spark, this like excitement, and coming into the concept of how much work it is. Like a business is work, right? And it's not all sunshine and rainbows, and there's difficult times ahead. That's when we really have to buckle down and say, but in the end, will this be worth it? Because right now it may not be worth it. You're putting out a website, you're figuring out like how to do LLCs and DBAs and EINs, and you're figuring out like, I don't know when I should teach, and should I do local or online, and how does any of this even matter? Because right now you're not seeing the fruits of the labor perhaps, right? However, if you actually back up and you say, yeah, but today I did this and wow, that moved the needle, even closer. Might have just been a little bit, but so this is kind of setting the stage, right? But I can understand where you're at right now. However, in the beginning, the concept of sustainability is very difficult to fathom, because you are used to your own schedule. Like before you met me, before you came into my world, you had a schedule. You had your life. You had your job, perhaps. You had your family. You had whatever, all the things that were in your life, your buckets, they were in your life. And then all of a sudden I came in, I was like, hey, now devote a little bit of time or a lot of time to this idea that you want to grow a business. If you think about it, I heard this quote one time where it's like, business owners or entrepreneurs would rather, and I think it's more entrepreneurs, read the book, it's like the 4 quadrants. I don't know if that's what it's called, but anyways, by the Rich Dad, Poor Dad guy, Kiyosaki, I think. Anyways, but I think it's called the 4 quadrants or something. But the concept is like moving from entrepreneur, like you have employee, entrepreneur, business owner, and then investor. I think those are the 4 quadrants. Anyways, the point of entrepreneur is like you are running the business. You basically have your own job. You created your own job, things like that. Moving to business owner is your team runs the business. And if you stepped away from the business for a year, it actually would be improved, right? You would still be making money. And in fact, you'd be making even more money. That's the concept of business owner. So the majority of us, and even me, have not quite reached that, status yet. But coming back to entrepreneurs. So there's a quote that says, entrepreneurs would rather work 24/7 on their own business than working 8-hour days for someone else. And I just think that's hilarious because that's truly what it feels like as a business owner. Is like, this is nonstop, right? Like, at what point will the fruits come? And so the concept of like coming in here and like putting a little time in, to be frank, is not going to be enough time. However, I will say this, that you easing yourself in is 100% better than you going hardcore for like a week or 30 days and just being like, I'm putting everything in. Because what'll happen sometimes when you do that, like when the mindset comes, like, I'm just going to go all in on this thing, there's a lot of resistance. Your mind is like, yeah, but then this is all getting sacrificed. And this is like the balls are getting dropped, and you'll start feeling yourself pull back from even wanting to show up to do the things you need to do. So yes, the concept, you found me, you came in, you have the desire, the excitement to do something. And then what's happening is you're easing into this. You're realizing, hey, I do have 30 minutes time block right here. Tomorrow I might have, 15. The next day though, I can see that I have an hour. Okay. And so time blocking out, like, hey, I need to be consistent with this. But easing yourself into this is truly like probably the best thing to do first. Okay, so now I'm going to say, okay, yes, but are we going to move the needle with just a little bit of time on our thing? No, but over time, of course, you spend enough time, little bit, over time, you're going to see results, right? Over time, you do little bit, in 6 months, you may have a preschool, right? And it really depends on your timeline. It really depends on what you are having in your life. And therefore, if you already have your full 24 hours scheduled, etc., before you met me, what will you take off your plate to be able to replace it with actually creating a business, right? There is time required, mental effort, emotional stability, all these things. So yes, easing into it is fine. However, there will come a point when you will realize you are not getting results fast enough, and you'll come to the conclusion that, hey, I need to put more time into this, right? I need to buckle down and really, make this a priority. And I asked the question before, is this worth it? It's very interesting to me. Starting the beginning of my very journey with starting a preschool, it was like, back in 2008, it's like, is this worth it? Like, man, if I had a preschool that could help me stay home with my kids so I didn't have to put them in daycare and go get a job, 1,000%, any effort at that point was 1,000% worth it. Like, that outcome mattered, like the only thing that mattered at that time in my life, right? You may be at a time point where you're like, things are okay in my life and I'm not necessarily feeling so much pain. And so I'm not sure if I'm going to go full force into this thing. Cause maybe in 6 months or 12 months from now, this will be great. And that's fine too. Okay. Accept that and realize that you may just have a different, you might have a little ember burning for a mother's sparks and others like full force fire, right? That's okay. We don't need to all be the same. Now, though, the time will come when, just back up 1 second, when it's the whole concept of, is it worth it? I remember with preschool system, years of toil and labor and struggle, yes, for finally producing anything. Now, I look back on that and I thank the 2019 joy, it was right at the end of 2018, joy that began the journey. Because man, so much fruit has been reaped from this. I have developed so much from this. My family's been so blessed from this. You guys have been blessed. And I'm so grateful that I started and I didn't stop. Now, notice that word though, I didn't stop, but can you believe there's been times when I've stepped back a bit and taken a breather and took that rest because I had to. Okay, so there's a different mental point of stopping. In this business for the past 5 years, there was no way I could stop. Financially, it needed to support our family because when we sold the preschool, like that paid off our debt and there was no more income. So it's like, hey, we need to create income again. So financially, it required me to keep going. Eventually, we brought on a team. Right? I needed to keep going for them as well. We brought you in. So I can't imagine walking away and like stopping what I'm doing, because then what happens to you, right? So the stakes get higher the longer you go. And that's why, so we'll put a little pin in there, right? And of course, so grateful that I didn't stop when I was starting my own preschool. Now, though, there's been many other journeys that I've started and stopped and like distinctly just literally stopped. And those would be considered my health journey things. But I'm not talking about those right now because I do believe there's some of you who actually have stopped the process, period, stopped, like full stop, not moving forward, not even like knowing it will ever come back again, but like you're just hanging out here in the group because you love us and we love you, okay? But some of you still want that, but you've done a full stop because it was hard, you didn't have time, it was a struggle, things like that. And in your life at the time, it just did not make sense. And some of you may be literally at that point right now with the full stop. So now I want to talk about this journey, the mental journey from hustle to grind to sustainability, because now here we go. We've set the stage, okay? So there will come a time after you've eased into things or even after you've stopped that you say, hey, I need to get this going. Maybe my husband lost his job. Maybe I lost my job. Maybe things are shaky. Maybe the economy is coming up into a possible recession. Like, it is crucial right now for me to have this second income. Like maybe my kid, got sick. Maybe I'm getting sick. Whatever it is, you're feeling this pressure building in you that says, I need to get this going, right? And I have the belief because others have done it and I've done hard things in the past. I want you to remember all the hard things you've done in the past that will give you that courage to take that first step. And then what comes at that point is what I call hustle. And this is where the hustle is required to move the needle. This is more than you have been doing in the past. This is more than you probably thought you could be able to do. This is where there will be sacrifices for a short time. Sacrifices, my friend, are not bad. And this is moms. I think this is the one thing that hurts us to our core is anytime we sacrifice our time away from our family. I think that's just like, that is so core in us as nurturers, as, I believe, like, I feel like there's an element that I'm the glue to the emotional state of the family. Because if I start falling apart, guess what happens emotionally with others? Like, it just ripples through. And so, oh man, I feel that for you too, because it's with me. However, if we want to have a better future for us, our family, it will require that sacrifice initially. And that's understandable. Dude, you make sacrifices all the time. You sacrifice the chance to spend with your kids because you have to create an income. You go get a job, right? That makes sense. That is sometimes a sacrifice we have to do. So there is a sacrifice of time there with your children. Sometimes you have to like, just think about all the sacrifices you've made. So therefore it is still okay in the pursuit and the goal of spending more time with your family and having a bigger financial stability. It is good and worth it and okay. Now, I don't mean for a long stretch of time, okay? That's where I had made mistakes, and that is what can lead to burnout. So there is a period of hustle, all right, where you're going to double down and spend even more time, and you are going to get in you're going to do hard things every day, okay? That's one thing that, like, when I wake up and I do my workout, because now I'm working out, when I do my workout in the morning, like, man, it's like 8 o'clock later in the day. So like I do my workout at 5 a.m. and then like later in the day, 8, 9, I'm like, I already did something really hard today. I kind of forgot I already worked out this morning, right? Like that felt really good. Doing hard things makes you feel good. Okay. This is that hustle mentality that you really need to get into. And it is so hard for so many of us because it's unlike the majority of the things that we do in our life. Hustle is hard. Hustle is known to be more of the man culture, right? Hustle, yeah. And I personally hate the hustle culture because that is so driven in like the man and things like that. But the truth is, if you want to get anything done in life, like there will be a period where you have to put in so much. So we've got it. That's the hustle time. There will be a portion of that. And how long? Don't make it longer than it needs to be. And in fact, you're going to notice that there's like, you might cycle through. And we have to cycle through, quite frankly, because we will burn out if we don't. So let's go to the next stage. We've put in all that effort, okay? We have learned so much. We've done so much. Now comes the grind. And this is where you may not have had that like giant burst of time required. I didn't say motivation, because I think motivation is ridiculous, because motivation comes and goes. But it's this consistency that will keep you going when that motivation lags, because it will. And it's not about willpower, quite frankly. I feel like that's the same thing as motivation. It's like, it comes and goes. However, though, then comes the stage of grind. And the stage of grind is when you are throwing the spaghetti at the wall. You are testing and trying everything, and you are unsure that this will work out. There is always that stage. It's just true. Or will it work out to the level that you want it to work out? I think back to so many preschool all-stars, and I'm going to name a couple names right now, who started and they did not get the immediate result, but dang, they kept going. And years later, they have the preschool that is blessing their life because they didn't stop. They may have questioned, they may have slowed down, and certainly they, I'm sure, pondered, is this worth it? But the blessing that is in their life along the way, and right now where they see the fruits of their labor that they put in so much time for, they grinded, they hustled, they, really said, will this work? But they didn't stop. Sharice Ellison. I am so proud of our all-stars. Because not every journey is different. And it is so cool to see the journey over years and years, which for you is like, that's your life. And it is so hard to live that life when the results aren't immediate. But any business has to build on itself. Any business will come over time, slowly, okay? But it is in the process of growing. You're in the process of growing, right? So Sharice Ellison, when, I remember she got her very first local student, and I was like hoping and praying that would be enough for her, that she wouldn't stop. She had one local student. I don't remember when she got her second. I feel like it was probably months in the future, but she showed up for that one student. And I remember like having the thought there was a lot of preschool all-stars that like had one student. They had an online or like a local, just one student as they were getting going. And it might even have been for months. But I remember thinking, the mother and father of that one student, that's their child. The only thing that they care about is that their child is having a great experience, right? They don't care about the other 5 or 10 students in the class. They're like, that's my child, and you are loving my child and spending time with my child. And so it's everything to them. So when I think about those parents dropping off that one student and Sharice loving on that one student, it's like, man, that is what began everything for her, right? And then another student finally signed up, right? And then finally another student signed up. I think she might have started the second year with maybe 4 students. I could be wrong. Sharice, correct me if so. But slowly but surely, she's, fine-tuned her marketing and messaging and found her people and gotten all the testimonials and reviews and really just made her preschool so amazing. And she's rolling now with it, right? And having these bigger dreams to create a center and just really fine-tuning that passion of what she is to become. She's already become so much, and she's becoming, and like, what is my grand purpose, right? Like, and this is part of the journey. I think of Jamie Rodner. Is that how I say your last name, my friend? She's another one where I have seen her journey from, this grand desire to do so many big things, and like truly it's on her heart. But so many roadblocks have come into her life. I mean, serious roadblocks. And I have seen her continue with the dream, even though she may not have been, actively pursuing things, but she's always been there. She's always been there. And to see her progression into having her students right now and just feeling her like, I don't know, just like, I imagine she would look back on her journey and say, man, like, look how far I've come, right? So sorry, I'm getting emotional because I think back on like all of my journeys, and I'm so grateful to the Joy from the past who like didn't give up. And of course, there's many things that I've been in the same journey of starting and stopping, of course. But that Joy still lived and continued every day and chose to keep showing up, even if the only showing up was for herself, right? Sometimes it's that way. Sometimes we don't have enough to be able to show up for others, but we can just show up for ourselves. Let's continue. So we had the hustle, and then we've come into the grind where it is just, I'm doing the thing, but it is still hard and I'm not seeing those results yet. And that hustle and grind, though, will end up in results. They will end up in results. And at that stage, that is when we need to go into a sustainable mode. We cannot always hustle, and mentally we cannot always grind, but we need to shift into the sustainable mode that says, okay, what are the things that are required for me to do to grow this business, to keep the business, to sustain my own mental state, my family, right? Like, it's like we can go out and work, and then we have to solidify. Like, we have to refocus, like stabilize the foundation, I think is the idea, like stability, right? I remember when I was going, and I know this is kind of long, but like, anyways, I remember when I was going through like my whole journey of learning how to live with bipolar, the key word I had was stability. Stability. Like I had to be stable. My family needed to be stable. I didn't care what else happened in life. Stability was the number one thing. Forget the hustle, forget the grind. We went back to stability because that was required, right? My number one word right now this year, so that was last year, the word this year is sustainability. Sustainability. How can I continue to move forward with little progress along the way, taking time for the rest, taking the pauses, taking the breaks? Life will happen, and you need to allow yourself to, when the times come when you're like, hey, I've got more motion. I don't know if you noticed, but like, I feel so prolific right now. There's like 10 ideas yesterday I wanted to go live about, and I've gone live 2 times a day, or 2 days in a row. But like, I've wanted to go live 10 times a day. And I'm like, that's a little much. I think they would can't consume that much information. So I'm writing all the ideas down and like trying to like stagger them through. There will come those times when you have that motivation again to get back into hustle. and you have, because you've rested, you've made it sustainable, which allows you to bring that energy back at the times that you need to bring it. Okay, so that you don't go into burnout. So understand, there will be peaks of hustle and grind and sustainability, and again, probably cycle through. I don't know, but for sure, there's going to be times where you need to put in that effort again, just to kickstart things again, right? So that's my message. Stop stopping. Don't put a full stop on. Don't put a full stop, especially on your dreams and your belief. Don't put a full stop on your belief in yourself. I think actually that's the number one thing I want to say at the very end that I finally got out. It's when we stop trusting ourselves. It's when we stop believing in ourselves that's what stops the whole dream. Because you don't believe you can achieve it. Okay. So stop doing that. Keep believing in yourself and take those breaks and rests as you need them. All right. Talk to you soon.